Vince, what do you think about the COVID sniffing dog?
I'll say this. It's an interesting concept. Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting concept. I'm interested to see how that works out.
Yeah. Just got to be careful, you know, that those dogs don't need to go to the restroom or anything. You know, that's the one thing you got to be leery of. All right, welcome to The Jump. I'm George Sedano, in for our fearless leader, Rachel Nichols, who's headed to Boston for the Lakers-Celtics Saturday night on ABC. I'm joined remotely by NBA champion Kendrick Perkins, who will join us in just a second. Of course, future Hall of Famer Vince Carter. Coming up, Perk shared his all-star starters on Twitter yesterday. Vince is going to tell us if he buys what Kendrick is selling, you know, with his all-star picks. But first, we begin today's show with my hometown Miami Heat, and it has not gone well for Eric Spoelstra's squad. Miami blew an 18-point lead last night to the Clippers, who didn't have Paul George and Kawhi. This all in front of the fans, you know, who were sniffed by dogs that we mentioned earlier. And again, it was their fifth straight loss for Miami. And after the game, Tyler Hero said, "This group is good in the locker room. We're just going to figure it out soon." A big part of the problem is the absence of Jimmy Butler. For 10 straight games, he's been out due to COVID-19 protocols. We saw a much slimmer version of Jimmy on the sidelines Wednesday night. His status is unclear for Saturday's game against the Kings. So the Heat currently rank near the bottom of the league in win percentage, offensive efficiency, three-point field goal percentage, and dead last in rebounds per game. So, Vince, I'll ask you, how worried should Heat fans be right now about their squad?
I honestly think it's some concern. I mean, obviously, their fearless leader and Jimmy Butler not there, looking slimmer than ever. And it's about, you know, well, first and foremost, it's about making sure that Jimmy is okay, he's safe, and he's able to get himself back into game shape and get back on the floor, because, I mean, he brings a lot to the table for the Miami Heat. You know, his voice, his play, you know, his effort on the court. So, but right now they just have to hold the fort down until he gets back. And yeah, it's a concern when, you know, you have an opportunity against a Clippers team that's missing their superstars, both of them, and you have a double-digit lead, and it falls apart. That is a concern, because they pride themselves on their defensive culture and the atmosphere and just closing games and being able to take care of business, and it's not getting done right now. So hopefully Jimmy gets better, get back on the court for them, and they can go back to their winning ways.
Perk, what about those guys from the 305? I know you were big on them last year. What are you seeing from them right now?
Well, unfortunately, George, the goons from Dade County has been affected by injuries and the COVID protocol, and it sucks. But here's the thing: the Heat are in trouble right now because the East is stronger. It's no more of this weak Eastern Conference. To me, the East is just as equal as the Western Conference, and you have a lot of teams right now like the Pacers, the Hawks, the Orlando Magic. I mean, the Cleveland Cavaliers that are getting better.
Even the Knicks.
So to be 6 games under 500 right now at this point, and not playing really good basketball, inspiring basketball, and have to play catch up in this strong Eastern Conference is just not good right now, George. And it's sorry to say, but the Heat are in trouble. They got to pray, because it's first 48 right now.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question about it, Perk, when you think about it. Like, you know, look, the Jimmy situation is big. I don't think there's any doubt about it. I thought Vince nailed that. And look, I'm not going to act like I'm a doctor or I even know anything, but I do think that considering he's been out this long, it probably shows you how serious the COVID situation was within the Miami Heat organization. They have dealt with injuries. I think they've only played maybe half their games with at least 8 players. Like that. That's a big problem, right? Like when you're fielding a team with a bunch of G League guys, I don't care how good Eric Spoelstra is, I don't care how good Bam has been, and they've both been great thus far this season. That's a big problem to overcome. Like, it's a challenge. I do think that we've seen this team, though, when their back is against the wall. If they can get right, I still feel like they can be one of those teams that can sneak in to the play-in situation, or maybe even to that 8th or 7th spot in the East.
But George, like you said, like Perk said, rather, you get too far down the line, it's going to be almost virtually impossible to get yourself back into contention to get into the playing game, because I think she said 6 games under 500. Well, you keep pummeling down there. After a while, it's even when Jimmy gets back, because he still has to get in game shape.
Right.
He has to get back into that high level basketball shape that he's capable of being in. It could be too late.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's move on here. The NBA All-Star voting started earlier this week. Perk, you shared your All-Star starters for each conference on Twitter yesterday. Hashtag carry on. Take us through your selections, starting out west. What do we got here?
Well, first of all, you got LeBron James, right? I mean, think about it. He's playing at an extremely high level, at an MVP type level, so that was a no-brainer. You look at Stephen Curry, a guy that probably if he wasn't playing with the Warriors, they probably would not have won the game this season. So almost averaging 30 points a game. Look at what Dame Lillard is doing, being the Dame Dollar that we know, putting up almost 30 points a night. And then you talk about Big Jokic, the Joker. His number speaks for himself. Jamal Murray hasn't been playing up to par like we expected him to play. We thought he was going to take a tremendous leap this year after what we saw in the bubble, and he hasn't. So Jokic has been carrying this Denver Nugget team, and I would never question a great Greg Popovich again. When he make a comparison like he did, saying that Jokic is the new Larry Bird, I believe him, okay? And then Paul George. I know everybody want to talk about Kawhi Leonard, and rightfully so, but Paul George is having one of the best seasons of his career.
Yeah.
He's shooting 50, 49, 50, 48 from the 3 and 90 from the line, or some ridiculous stat number like that. And he's playing some inspiring basketball. And guess what? He took a lot of heat in the bubble. He took a lot of heat this offseason. He said that people were going to pay on the All the Smoke podcast, and he's showing up. So not only is he talking the talk, but he's walking the walk. And that's how I selected my All-Star starters in the Western Conference. Do you and Vince got a problem with it, George?
Okay, let's go with Vince first. Vince, what do you think about Perk's selections?
I like the selection. There's only one person that is kind of question, if you would, and it's Paul George, and everything you say is 1,000% correct. But what about that guy in Dallas by the name of Luka Doncic? He's almost having a triple-double, doing what he needs to do, and I just feel like he is playing great basketball, and he's improving and getting better as well.
Right.
He's played more games and has a better average as well. But it's one of those things. It's just, either you like this way or you like it that way. I just think Luka Doncic is playing at an all-star level. Yes, he was already in the running for MVP coming into the season, and he's living up to it. He's playing some great basketball as well.
Well, George, I hear you saying right. Do you second that?
Well, no, I think that Luka is in the conversation. I probably wouldn't put him over any of those guys that you have at the moment. But the one guy, if I had to think of one guy that I think was also omitted on that list, and I don't have a big problem with your list, but Spider Mitchell, Donovan Mitchell has been fantastic. He's on the #1 team in the Western Conference. I know this may be blasphemous because I think Steph Curry is a transformational, transcendent talent. But if we're talking about this particular season, okay, I may put Donovan Mitchell in there ahead of Steph this particular season. But I ain't going to fight you on it. Well, first of all, I would never fight you because you'd kill me. But number two, but number two, I wouldn't fight you on it because it's just close to me. Like, I mean, if you went with Steph, I ain't going to argue too much.
Yeah. Okay, well, let me say this, George, and you have a great point. But when you look at the Utah Jazz, they have a good team. They have a great team. Mm-hmm. So when you look at their stat line, they have guys, 6 or 7 guys every night that are finishing in double-figure points. And no knock on Spider, but he has had an up and down season. And you have guys like Jordan Clarkson, who has been like a 6 Man of the Year candidate, who has been helping the Jazz win games. Now, Vince, let me get to you on your point about Luka. Yes, Luka is putting up those monster numbers that's showing up in the stat sheet. But what I want Luka to do is to start showing the world that he